My name is Lily, 18 years. That's how long I gave Vertex Solutions. I was there when we didn't even have a proper server room, just a couple of towers humming under a desk, back when dial-up was still a thing. I built the backbone of that company. Systems, security frameworks, crisis protocols, the stuff no one paid attention to until it saved them from disaster. I trained waves of new hires, recovered data from near-loss situations, and worked through more weekends than I can count, and yet one Monday morning, I found myself sitting across from Eric, the new CEO they brought in 6 months ago, along with the HR director who couldn't even look me in the eye. Eric didn't waste time. "We're restructuring, Lily. Your position has been made redundant. We appreciate your years of service, but we need to move forward. Clean out your desk by noon. No warning, no negotiation." Just a flat statement like I was a faulty piece of hardware ready for disposal. But I wasn't surprised. I'd seen the signs: the sudden exclusion from important meetings, restricted access to systems I had once overseen, team projects reassigned, without explanation. The gut instinct you sharpen over 2 decades of navigating corporate politics had been screaming for weeks. I nodded once, stood up, and walked out without a word. No drama, no tears. But as I packed my office, carefully, methodically, I wasn't thinking about the insult. I was thinking about the records I had quietly kept all these years, and what I was about to do with them. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I drove to my favorite coffee shop, the one with the bad Wi-Fi but great windows, and opened my laptop. There, under a folder blandly labeled System Archives, lived the real legacy of my 18 years. I wasn't just the IT director in name. I was the architect of Vertex's entire operational spine. Every migration project, every compliance audit, every security breach quietly handled before it became a PR nightmare. I had built the shield they never even realized they needed, and, perhaps out of habit, or maybe instinct, I had kept meticulous documentation. Not just for me, but because somewhere deep down, I had always known no one else would. Original system blueprints, access logs, workflow revisions, email chains authorizing expenditures, executive meeting minutes, saved and backed up even when they forgot to include me on future invites. All there. All time-stamped. All pointing to one inevitable conclusion. Without me, their carefully balanced house of cards would collapse at the first strong breeze. But it wasn't just about the systems. Over the years, I had built loyalty to the company the old-fashioned way, quietly, steadily, through reliability. I turned down offers from bigger names for promises of growth opportunities that never materialized. I stayed late when others clocked out. I solved crises I wasn't even thanked for. And what did that loyalty earn me? A perfunctory email from HR and a box to pack my things. Loyalty, I realized, wasn't a currency they valued. It was just leverage they exploited until it no longer served them. They thought they could erase me with a signature. What they didn't understand was that, while they had been busy taking me for granted, I had been building the one thing they couldn't control. A record. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hurt anymore. I was calculating. And for the first time in 18 years, I was ready to move without asking for permission. I spent the next 3 days in near silence. No calls, no emotional texts to old coworkers, no cryptic posts online. Just me, my laptop, and a plan I'd been unconsciously building for years. While they were busy cutting me out of meetings, I had been watching, documenting. Every quarterly report, every sudden transfer of funds, every consultant contract signed without the usual procurement channels. Patterns emerged once you knew where to look, and I knew exactly where to look. It didn't take long to uncover the heart of it. Apex Consulting, a shell company run by the CFO's cousin, quietly siphoning off inflated consulting fees for system upgrades that never actually happened. And Eric, the same CEO who fired me without blinking, was signing off on every payment. I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I compiled. Financial records, wire transfers, corporate filings, everything linked neatly into a dossier even a junior auditor couldn't ignore. I wrote a simple, unsent email addressed to Vertex's board of directors. No drama, no accusations, just facts, bullet points, dates, dollar amounts, names, attachments. And then I saved it. I wasn't done yet. On the fourth day, I waited until just before Vertex's quarterly board meeting, the one where they'd be approving bonuses and patting themselves on the back for streamlining operations. At 9 a.m. sharp, while they were settling into their conference room chairs, I logged into a clean, encrypted email account I had set up months before for personal contingencies. I scheduled the email to be sent to every single board member at 9:05 a.m., right after the CFO's financial presentation. The subject line was simple: urgent review, financial irregularities concerning Apex Consulting. I hit schedule and closed my laptop. No threats, no demands, just the truth, armed with time-stamped evidence. While they thought they had erased me from the company, they hadn't erased what I knew. And in about 5 minutes, they were about to find out just how thorough Lillian Nguyen could be. At 9:07 a.m., my phone started buzzing like it had a heartbeat of its own. First it was a call from an unknown number, then another. Then a flood of emails, all flagged as urgent, all from names I recognized: directors, legal counsel, even the CFO himself. I ignored every single one. The best part? I didn't have to do anything. The email spoke for itself. The attachments, financial, records, screenshots of backdoor payments, falsified vendor contracts, left no room for explanations. I leaned back in my chair, sipping lukewarm coffee as the first headline hit the financial news wires. Vertex Solutions executives under internal investigation following whistleblower allegations. I smiled, but only slightly. Around noon, my personal phone lit up again, this time a number I hadn't saved but knew well. Eric. I let it ring twice before answering. Lily, we really need to talk. This situation can still be handled quietly. Discreetly, if you're willing to be reasonable. Reasonable. They fire me without notice, and now they want me to be reasonable. I stayed silent, letting the awkward pause stretch long enough for him to squirm. We can offer you a settlement, he continued, voice straining to sound casual. Generous terms, full benefits, and of course, a confidentiality clause to protect both sides. I could almost hear the PR team feeding him lines from the background. Finally, I spoke, calm and crisp. You called me dead weight, Eric. Remember? Silence. Dead weight doesn't negotiate. I ended the call. Not 2 hours later, my inbox pinged with a formal letter. A newly doubled severance. Offer, padded with a clause demanding I withdraw all allegations and sign a permanent NDA. I didn't even open the document. I forwarded it directly to my attorney, along with a single note. Decline. No counter. By the end of the day, the board had convened an emergency session. The CFO resigned. Eric was placed on administrative leave. Legal teams scrambled. Investors panicked. Stock prices dipped just enough to make them sweat, and me? I sat back and watched the very people who erased me drown in the paper trail they thought no one was paying attention to. They had offered me silence. Instead, I gave them accountability. I didn't celebrate. Not in the way people expect. There was no champagne, no gloating posts online. Just a quiet dinner at home, my phone turned face down, notifications muted. I had done what needed to be done. And now, it was time to build something of my own. Week after the headlines started fading, I got the first call, then the second, then a dozen more, former colleagues. Mid-level managers, engineers, designers. People who had been overlooked, underappreciated, cast aside in the name of efficiency, the same way I had been. They didn't just want jobs, they wanted something different. A place where loyalty wasn't treated like an expiration date. So we built it. Aurora SecureTech wasn't flashy at first. A handful of desks in a co-working space, second-hand equipment, a coffee machine that rattled every time it brewed. But what we lacked in polish, we made up for in purpose. Our mission was simple: audit and protect. Not just networks and systems, but integrity. Within 6 months, Aurora was quietly making noise. Startups and mid-sized companies started coming. To us, businesses that wanted real security, not just check-the-box compliance. They trusted us because we weren't suits chasing numbers. We were people who had lived the cost of corporate arrogance firsthand. I didn't chase headlines. I didn't need to. Our work spoke louder than any PR stunt ever could, and in the back of my mind, there was a quiet, stubborn satisfaction. Not because Vertex was still flailing under its investigation, but because, for the first time in 18 years, I wasn't trying to prove my worth to anyone. I was simply living it. 6 months later, I woke up to an email that made me pause. It was from Vertex Solutions. They were reaching out with an opportunity. How polite. Turns out the board had cleaned house. The CFO was under federal investigation. Eric had stepped down to pursue other opportunities, as they like to phrase it. Vertex's stock had tanked, clients had fled, and trust was at an all-time low. They needed a new chief information security officer. Full executive privileges, direct report to the board, complete control over all internal security systems, a blank check to fix what had been broken, and they wanted me. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I spent the day walking through Aurora's small but growing office, pausing to watch my team brainstorming over whiteboards, sketching out better, smarter ways to protect people who trusted us. They weren't chasing titles or corner offices. They were building something real, something they believed in. Later that night, sitting alone with a cup of tea, I opened Vertex's offer again. The title was tempting, the power, even more so. The chance to walk back in, head high, while they scrambled to rebuild the wreckage they had created? Very tempting, but I closed the laptop without replying. The next morning, I announced Aurora's expansion plans: a new office, a bigger team, and our first government security contract. Meanwhile, online, Vertex quietly released a statement about their new interim security chief, someone no one had ever heard of. As for me, I didn't need validation from the place that had once called me expendable. I had already built something better, and this time, my name wasn't buried in the fine print. It was etched on the door. In my new office, simple, sunlit, walls lined with plants instead of plaques, there's only one thing framed behind my desk. It's not a degree, not a certification. It's a small, handwritten note in black ink. Not revenge, just record. It's not for visitors, it's for me. A reminder of everything they underestimated, ignored, or tried to erase. A reminder that the most powerful response isn't fury or noise, it's fact, documented, unshakable. When Vertex fired me, they thought I'd vanish. They thought I'd accept their terms, take their hush money, disappear quietly into the corporate afterthought they had assigned me to be. They never expected I'd leave a paper trail heavy enough to bury them. They never expected silence to be louder than rage. Now, as Aurora grows, not explosively, not recklessly, but steadily, I don't worry about who's watching. I know exactly who's watching, and if you've made it this far, reading my story, wondering if the quiet ones notice, if the invisible ones remember, we do. We don't just remember. We record, document everything, know your value. And when it's time, don't burn the bridge. Let it collapse under the weight of their own greed. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or quietly erased, you're not alone. Document everything. Know your worth. Let your silence speak louder than their noise. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to like, comment. Tell me, have you ever been underestimated at work? Subscribe for more stories of quiet strength and unapologetic resilience. Your story deserves to be heard or recorded, even when they hope it won't be.